الله الكبير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الله الكبير. Again, we are grateful to God for giving us this opportunity, and this is not by accident. This is by divine design and providence, and so we have to be grateful to the source of the blessings that we have today, that our test is not over, and God has given us a new lease on life. Let's put it that way. And so we are here again, and so we have the opportunity to redeem ourselves and make sure that we are on the path of God. That's the only path which is available, and that's the path that will take us to our Creator. And so so we have to go through the exercise of this temporary life that we have here, and then God will take us when the time comes, and so He knows when the time is, and so we have to abide by it, and in the meantime, we have to worship Him alone, and so this is a huge blessing upon us that God has bestowed upon us today. And so we have to be cognizant of this fact that we are abiding by God's laws and His instructions that He's given us. That's only makes us better and makes us happier. It makes us more in tune with God's system and His will for us to exist in this universe in a godly way, in a godly fashion. So what I wanted to talk about today is that I want to talk to you about this. That this is the time of the year that we have, that this cycle of the seasonal change and holidays and all kinds of stuff come about, and it seems that we've just done this before, and so we have this tendency to say that we are taking this as some kind of repetitive incident that happens in our life. And some people, they basically get bored with it, they get tired, that say, oh my, we just did this and it's not that much fun anymore. And I had that kind of feeling sometimes, and I was wrong. Okay, and I'm going to tell you I was wrong. Okay, so what God does, He makes sure that even in this world, that things seem to be repetitive, that they're oscillating, and the earth going around the sun, and the fourth season comes, and we just had the longest day of the year, which was 2 days ago, and that's winter solstice, and the longest day, and in the southern hemisphere is the middle of summer, and that's the longest day for them, and the shortest day for us here in the northern hemisphere. So, and it seemed to be repeating. Okay, so these things about vacations and holidays and New Year is coming again, and New Year is January 1st, and we just did it before, and so what? I mean, it's repetitive and it's boring. And what I did not think about that we have a unique position, as we were talking about this, that everything has a number associated with it. Even this year is not like last year. This year is different from last year. Okay? And this year is different from 2 years ago. And next year is going to be different from this. So every generation, they have their own place and time in this space-time continuum. And I'm going to bring you an example. Okay, so So if you go to Google, okay, you go to Google here, and then you say, okay, you say the speed of the sun around the galaxy. Okay. The speed of the sun and the solar system around the center of the galaxy is 140 miles a second. That translates into 225 kilometers per second. It seems to be very high, okay? But look, the speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second, okay? So this motion by itself is different from 1,000 years ago, okay? So from 1,000 years ago, the Earth has moved almost 1 light year, okay, from 1,400 years ago, the time that Quran was revealed, okay, 1,400 years ago. The Earth and the solar system, the sun, which is the center of the solar system, has moved almost 1 light year around the galaxy. Okay, can you imagine that? 1 light year around the galaxy. So our position in space-time is not the same as when the Quran was revealed. Okay, so accordingly, every one of us, they have our own tests. So we don't have the same test that Abraham had to go through. We don't have the same test that Muhammad had to go through. We don't have the same test that our forefathers went through, because we are in a different place in space and time. We have our own numbers. Let's put it that way. Okay? Now, minding that the galaxy is moving also, the entire galaxy, which is part of the so-called Virgo supercluster. Okay? Virgo supercluster, which is we are part of it. It has 2,000 galaxies in it. It's supercluster. Okay. Again, you can go ahead and let's see here and say that how many galaxies, and you know this is amazing. How many galaxies in the Virgo supercluster. Okay. And he says the giant 2,000 galaxy Virgo cluster is about 65 million light years away. It is the proximity of some 50 nearby small groups of galaxies in the Virgo cluster that suggests that they are all from enormous flattened cluster of clusters we call the local supercluster. Okay? So 2,000 galaxies in this thing. And this is just a small area or small volume of the universe. Okay? So the galaxy, our galaxy, moves within the supercluster, okay, at 583. Okay, so again, you can do that here, okay, in your Google search. Okay, say, what is the speed of Milky Way in space? Okay, 1.3 million miles per hour. That's how fast it's going. Again, this is about 583 kilometers per second. Okay, so from the time the Quran was revealed, which is 1,400 years ago, to today that we are talking about this, okay, we have moved 2.7 light years within the within this cluster of galaxies. Now, mind you, that cluster of galaxies is also moving with respect to the other things inside the universe. And we have no clue, okay, what the speed is or whatever it is. We don't know that, okay? And the universe itself also rotates. So everything in here rotates, so why not the whole universe? So we see that all of these things, but they are not in the same place. So we are not in the same place within the existence that we have today. This is different. So I have this information today. This information was not available 1,400 years ago. So those folks 1,400 years ago, or 3,000 years ago, or 4,000 years ago, or 5,000 years ago, they had to go through their own tests. And you and I and all the people alive here, they have to go through their own tests according to the individuality that they have and according to the number that God assigned to them. See? So, my friend, it's not repetitive. Okay? So, again, I look at this as good news. A lot of people, they commit suicide. They say this is boring. This life is boring. It's repetitive. It is not. This is, again, good news coming from God. No, it's not repetitive. You have your own time in this and your own space in this universe that God has created. And that's individually for you and no one else. You occupy a very specific place. And according to that specific place, that doesn't belong to anybody else. You go through your own tests. And my test is different from X, Y, and Z. They have their own tests. And I don't know what those tests are. The test that Abraham had to go through 4,500 years ago, that was specifically for Abraham. That's not for you and me. Okay? So the test that everybody goes through is unique for that person because the time and the space is not the same. They're different. So if I break it down, bring it to microscopic level for individuals, every individual within this macroscopic thing that I just talked about, that where we are compared to 1,400 years ago, okay, then we'll realize that every individual also, they have their own test and their own place in space-time continuum. So this is absolutely good news. There is no reason to say that you're bored. Okay? Because you're different. This is different. You know how long it takes to go around the galaxy? 250 million years. So you'll never be there to repeat that again. You'll never repeat it. That's just unique for this time. And that is amazing, isn't it? Okay, so, and I don't know how long it's going to take to go around the supercluster, or how long it takes for the whole universe to rotate. Okay. So we don't know those things. But my point is that the information that I have today, this information was not available. And I just showed you these things. All I did was I typed this in this search box for Google, and all of this information comes. This information was not available at the time of Muhammad or Jesus or Moses or those other guys. They were not. Abraham, they had their own test. Noah had his own test. I don't have to go through that test. I have my own tests. I have the test that God has specifically designed for me. And I have to pass my own tests. Okay? So when we look at it from a point of view, of a naive point of view, we do not recognize how great, how gracious, and how merciful, how generous God is. We have no idea that the things that we think that are repetitive and they're not worth going through the same thing over and over and over again, No, my friends, that's different from last year. We are different from 2 years ago. We are different from 10 years ago. And then we go forward, and next year is going to be different because we are going to be another light year, okay? Not another light year, a fraction of a light year away from the place that we are. Okay. And can you imagine that? I mean, can you imagine the graciousness of God? How infinitely graceful God is and gracious is. Grace is absolutely infinite. We have no clue, okay, because we do not look at it. Okay, we do not look at that. Okay, it says per hour, 2.1 million kilometers per hour. That's the speed of the galaxy. Okay, that means an hour from now we are 2.1 million kilometers away. You know how many kilometers is this from here to the moon? 380,000. Okay, you divide 2.1 by 3 is almost 5.5 times the distance from here to the moon that we have traveled. So 1 hour from now is different. Right now is different from 1 hour ago. What the galaxy is. But the galaxy is so big that we do not notice it. The galaxy is 100,000 light years across that we know of. It may be even bigger than that. So 2.1 million kilometers would not make a difference. Okay. And a light year is 10 trillion kilometers. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, 10 trillion kilometers. That's how long a light year is. So 2.1 million kilometers per hour would not make a difference because we can't see it. We cannot distinguish. But again, as I said, when God tells us all of these things in the world, okay, that I did not create these things in vain. That you have to study it, look at it, study it, take a look again. Your eyes will come back subdued to you. Chapter 67, read it and see what it says. Okay. And this is the beauty of the universe that God has created, and He gives us good news every week. Every week we actually hear this good news again. When we open up our eyes and look at it, and from a point of view of a wise person, not somebody who's tired of things and wants to do things fast and quick. Okay? We don't want to do that. A lot of people are bored, and that's why they drink and they smoke and all kinds of stuff. They do all kinds of things. Okay, they use drugs and everything to make a change in their lives, to make it more exciting. It is exciting. This is the excitement that we have to bear in mind, that how exciting this life is. Okay? Because, as I said, we are unique individuals. As I said, just like those neutrinos that interacted inside the ice cube detector. Okay? 10 to the 60 or 10 to the 70 neutrinos. That means a number with 70 zeros in front of it or behind it. Okay? So in that case, what we see that this is the beauty of God's creation. Okay? Every one of those guys have a number. And then there are ones that actually interact inside the earth that we cannot even see. And God knows that. Okay? And that guy also has a number too. That little neutrino has a number. Okay. So this is the beauty of God's creation. And so we have to make sure that we understand it. And again, I go back to this, that this is good news. Okay. That this is not like last year. It's not like an hour ago. And an hour from now is going to be different. And I hope that the test that tailored individual for us by God alone and no one else, that we go through those tests and come out with flying colors. Okay. I'm going to stop here.